Hello everyone, myself Dr. Mohini Kuchekar, Assistant Professor at PE Society's Modern College of Pharmacy, Negri, Pune. Today I am going to talk on topic that is alkaloid. In that we are going to discuss definition, classification, properties and test for identification of alkaloid. Learning outcomes. By understanding this topic, learners will able to understand what are basically the alkaloids, able to describe the occurrence and properties of the alkaloids. They could able to classify alkaloids along with examples. They could able to detect the alkaloid by performing the chemical test and understand the functions of alkaloids. The term Flagyl-Kalin or alkaloid was first coined by a German pharmacist Messener in the year 1819. According to him, alkaloids are basically it is derived from two words. First, that is alkali, which is nothing but base like, and oids means like substances. So, in short, alkaloids are alkali like substance or a base like substance. So, alkaloids are a diverse group of low molecular weight nitrogen containing secondary plant metabolite which is found in around 20% of plant species. The potent biological activity of some alkaloid has also leads to their exploitation as phytopharmaceuticals, stimulants, narcotics, and poisons. So, the scientific definition of alkaloid, the alkaloids are the heterogeneous organic products which is obtained from plant and animal origin containing basic nitrogen atom and exhibit a specific physiological action on human or on animals when used in small quantity. Let's discuss the occurrence of alkaloid. In the year 1962, the scientist Mackay reported that about 1000 of known alkaloids belongs to almost 100 families, 500 genera and spread over 1200 species. Alkaloids have restricted distribution in plant, microbial and animal species. The alkaloids are common in angiosperm but rare in lower plants, although there are exceptions are there. For example, the paclitaxel from yew. Other examples are also discussed over here. Apart from that, the families which have been recognized as an outstanding for alkaloid yielding plant are namely Apocynaceae, then Papaveraceae family, Rubiaceae family, Sonalaceae family, and the one more family is there, that is Ranunculaceae family, which is having an outstanding content of an alkaloid. Now let's discuss the next point, that is properties. So alkaloids basically they are colorless crystalline solid with the sharp melting point or decomposition rate. Some alkaloids are amorphous gums while others like conine, then the nicotine are liquid and in volatile nature. Some alkaloids are colored in nature too. For example, betadine. Betadine is red in color, while berberine it is yellow, and salt form of the sanguinarine are copper red in color. In general, the free bases of the alkaloids are soluble in organic nonpolar immiscible solvent. The salt form of the most of the alkaloids they are easily get solubilized in water. The alkaloids containing quaternary bases are only water soluble. Some of the pseudoalkaloid and protoalkaloids shows higher solubility in water. For example, here the colchicine it is soluble in alkaline water, acid and water, and caffeine it is freely soluble in water. But the alkaloid which exhibits the basic character are very much sensitive to decomposition, and that's the reason it may cause a problem during their storage. But their salt formation in an inorganic acid prevents many times their decomposition. So salt form is more preferable one. The basic character of the alkaloid compound is enhanced if the adjacent functional groups are electron releasing. The alkaloid turn to be neutral or acidic when the adjacent functional group are electron withdrawing. Like here, for example, amide groups, which reduces the availability of the lone pair of electrons. Now let's discuss the next point, that is the classification of the alkaloids. So these alkaloids are classified briefly by various methods. Let's discuss one by one. First method, that is taxonomical classification. Second is biosynthetic classification, pharmacological classification, and last one, that is chemical classification. Let's discuss one by one. Taxonomical classification. In that, the most common taxa are the genus, subgenus, species, and variety. Therefore, the taxonomical classification it emphasizes the phyla of alkaloid exclusively based on their respective distribution in variety of plant families. So here the example of Datura method is discussed along with its various parameters. Next is classification, that is the biosynthetic classification. In this method, alkaloids are classified according to the biochemical precursor or biosynthetic pathway which is responsible for the biosynthesis of respective chemical class of alkaloids. Therefore, it is quite convenient and also logical to group together all alkaloids have been derived from the same precursor but processing different taxonomical distribution and pharmacological activities. For example, the biosynthetic origin in indole alkaloid, which is derived from tryptophan, piperidine alkaloid derived from lysine, imidazole alkaloid derived from histidine, while pyrrolidine alkaloid, which is derived from ornithine. Next classification we will discuss, that is pharmacological classification. The alkaloids are known to exert broad spectrum of specific pharmacological activity, that is nothing but therapeutic effect. Thus, this might also be used as a strong basis for the general classification of the alkaloids derived from the plant kingdom. For example, the isolated compounds like morphine, it is used as a narcotic analgesic, quinine as antimalarial, strychnine as reflex excitability, lobeline as a respiratory stimulant, pilocarpine as anti-glaucoma agent. And few more examples are discussed over here along with its pharmacological activity and examples. Next classification is the last one, that is chemical classification. So chemically, alkaloids are heterogeneous group of natural substance which is comprising of the nitrogen containing organic compound, as we have discussed in definition also. Thus, it is useful to maintain well-established classification based upon chemical structure. The main criteria for chemical classification is the type of fundamental ring structure which is present in alkaloid. The alkaloid drugs are broadly basically categorized into two divisions. First is heterocyclic alkaloid. This one, and second one, that is non-heterocyclic alkaloid. So heterocyclic alkaloid, which is nothing but a true alkaloid, and non-heterocyclic alkaloid, which are ProtoAlkoloid and PseudoAlkoloids. Let's discuss the first one, that is heterocyclic alkaloid. It is the true alkaloid. These contain heterocyclic nitrogen, which is derived from amino acid and always basic in nature. These alkaloids are toxic and normally present in plant as a salt of organic acid. For example, here morphine and codeine. Now, let's discuss the next class, that is non-heterocyclic alkaloid, which is also a proto, it is also called as an biological amines, and pseudoalkaloid. So ProtoAlkoloids. What are ProtoAlkoloids? These are a simple amine in which the nitrogen is not in heterocyclic ring. These are basic in nature and prepared in plant from amino acids. For example, colchicine, ephedrine. The second one, that is pseudoalkaloid. This includes mainly steroidal, terpenoidal alkaloids and purines. These are not derived from amino acid, and this doesn't show many of the typical characters which is shown by the alkaloid given in the qualitative test for the alkaloid. If you perform the qualitative test for the alkaloid, it is not showing proper result, but still that's the reason we called it as a pseudoalkaloid. For example, here caffeine. So we have discussed what is heterocyclic alkaloids, which is a true alkaloid. Here the basic ring structure, then the name of the alkaloid, its biological origin and its family is given. In continuation with this, here the non-heterocyclic, which is proto and pseudoalkaloid, here the examples are discussed, that is here diterpene, aconitin, botanical name which is obtained from Aconitum napellus, belonging to the family Ranunculaceae. Let's discuss the next and very important point regarding alkaloid, that is the chemical test for identification of alkaloids. The qualitative chemical test used for the detection of alkaloids are dependent on the characters of alkaloid to give precipitates as a salt of organic or with a compound of heavy metals like mercury, gold, platinum. So for the detection of the alkaloid, we use various reagents. So let's discuss one by one different basic general chemical test used in identification of alkaloids, like Mayer test, Dragon-Drop test, Wagner's test, and Hager's test. So let's discuss in detail what is exactly a Mayer's test. In Mayer's test, Mayer's reagent is used. So Mayer's reagent is potassium mercuric iodide solution. In GPAT and in MCQs also, this question is asked. So in Mayer's test, along with the sample, it is treated with Mayer reagent, which will give the cream colored precipitate if alkaloids are present. Next test is drag and drop test. Here in this test, the drag and drop reagent is used, which is potassium bismuth iodide solution. When the alkaloid containing sample treat with the drag and drop reagent, it will gives you reddish brown precipitate. Third test, that is Wagner's test. In this test, Wagner reagent is used. Wagner reagent is iodine potassium iodide solution. So sample containing the alkaloid, when treated with Wagner's reagent, it will give reddish precipitate. And the last test, that is Hager's test. That is, here we are going to use a Hager's reagent, which is containing a picric acid. When sample containing alkaloid treated with the Hager's reagent, it will give a yellow color precipitate. So here we have discussed various chemical tests for the identification of alkaloids. These are general tests which is performed for detection of alkaloids. Let's discuss the functions of the alkaloids in plants. Poisonous agent protecting the plant against insect and herbivores. End product of detoxification reaction. Regulatory growth factors. Reserve substances which is capable of supplying nitrogen, as nitrogen is present in its heterocyclic ring, or other element which is necessary to the plant's economy. That's how the alkaloids plays an important role in plants also. So by studying this topic, I just summarize what we have discussed. We have discussed what are alkaloid, scientific definition of the alkaloid, occurrence and properties of the alkaloid, classification of the alkaloids along with its example, chemical test for the identification of alkaloids, and the functions of the alkaloids in plants. Thank you.